Well, this is another episode of Steve Snippets, and this is going to either be a long snippet or maybe will be done in multiple parts. But when you're talking about a parent, it's rather difficult to cover it all in one 5 to 10 minute session. So I'll start off by mentioning about Mom and her parents and the fact that she grew up in a small community, growing up in a two-parent household. Both her mom and her dad were almost there every night of the week, and they were a family that stayed together, whether it was her big brother Fred being off at war for a while, but for the most part they were all together, and they did a lot of things as a family unit, whether that was going to church, to school, or to many of the community activities in and around the DeLong, Illinois area. Her relationships with her mom and dad were extremely positive. That doesn't mean that they didn't have their own quirks and issues, but she learned a lot of wonderful lessons from her parents, and she has talked with us, her kids, about that a fair amount. One thing that Mom learned from her mom was how to cook and how to bake. And Grandma Klein talked about the fact that she was a baker on a regular basis, and the reality is that she was also one who made sure every meal was a hot meal for her husband, my grandpa. She did a lot of baking. One of the notes in her cookbook is under biscuits, "I must have made a million." And Mom has definitely learned those baking skills, not necessarily on a wood stove the way Grandma dealt with it at times. And she and I, my mom and I, have had opportunities in the recent years to do some baking together as an intentional activity, sort of to connect us with the Klein family and to connect us with one another. But Mom was an excellent cook, not just as a baker, but also just as a cook in general. As a child, I don't remember having many items, other than some unusual vegetables, as items that Mom didn't make very well. She was an excellent cook and is an excellent cook. And we kids have really appreciated the fact that we've eaten well over a lifetime. Mom had wonderful religious grounding. I mentioned the little church earlier. She was part of the community church right there in DeLong. Her parents were superintendent of Sunday school and any number of other leadership roles, partially because there weren't that many others, and also because her parents were strong in their faith. And so Mom received that grounding and has continued that throughout her lifetime. In fact, as I've developed the Christian Playbook, Mom has had a major influence in that by the way she does her daily life and her daily devotionals. Mom has had a wonderful influence on my life, and I wrote down a couple of examples. There are dozens that I could cite, but I'll give you just these few. First, she encouraged us to do things musically. All of us took piano lessons, some for a lot shorter, Thad, and a lot longer, Mindy, than the rest of us. But one thing Mom did in my case was, I was pretty much done with the piano, but she said, I think you ought to learn how to play the guitar. And she signed me up for a guitar class. It was an adult education class, but yet I was just a 12-year-old. And so it was a little intimidating to go in with my little guitar and learn amidst these adults, but I really enjoyed those few sessions. There's probably only a half a dozen lessons in total. But I learned some great songs, songs that every parent would be proud to have their children singing. Bottle of Wine, and Looking Out My Back Door, with a lot of drug references. So I learned a lot of things in that guitar class, but it really was a wonderful experience and has led me to a lot of the continued activity related to the guitar, which I enjoy so much to this day. She liked the idea and really encouraged me to consider doing more with the church. And so both Mom and Dad encouraged me to consider being a youth representative to our church session. which led me to ultimately be selected to go to the General Assembly in Kansas City and then later the next year into Detroit as what they called a youth advisory delegate. And that really did change my life, both from a Christian perspective, seeing the workings of a church, and not always positively, but learning a lot about our church. And more importantly, I think personally, I met a whole bunch of kids that I really liked and realized at that point that I didn't need to be just focusing on a girlfriend, but rather looking around and continuing to broaden my horizons as it related to who might be my life partner. So those were wonderful experiences, encouraged a lot by my mom, and ultimately I became the Youth Forum triennium moderator, and heavily because of Mom and the relationship that I had with the presbytery. So Mom really did encourage me. She still does to this day encourage all of us in a number of different ways. And as I said, I could list dozens. She's been active throughout her life, even now as she hits the octogenarian time period. It's fun to see all the things that may be possible for us based on watching our mom. She has been named over time period Bowling Green Citizen of the Year, and has also just done so many things to contribute to the community, including starting the Wheeled Meals program that still goes on today and which Mom still volunteers on a periodic basis. She also has been involved in the food pantry. She regularly goes, when I say regularly, that's on a weekly basis. She goes to the Kroger grocery store to pick up all of the baked goods that they might have extra. And she brings those back, in some cases 2 full shopping carts full of those products, donuts and breads and any number of things, cakes, and takes those to the food pantry that others might be able to enjoy them. Mom has also been a regular participant in the senior center as she's gotten to an older age. And she does all sorts of things there, a memory class and lunches and birthday gatherings and any number of things that the senior center offers. Additionally, she's involved in the arts, going to various concerts both at the university and the church, just getting out in the community in general. And she has a large group of friends and others that are around that just really show us, her kids and her grandkids, all of the things that one can do as they continue in their life. And Mom and Dad made a wonderful pair. It's so tough to see Mom without Dad because they did feed off of each other so well. But Dad would be extremely proud of Mom and all that she has done since the time that he passed in 2002. We are truly blessed to call her our mom. And speaking of calls, I get a chance to talk with Mom pretty much every Sunday. We spend an hour or so just chatting about all that's going on in life, and that's incredibly valuable to me, both for the example she provides and the care and love that she shows in those phone calls. I have a lot more I could say about Mom. I do have 2 songs that you can read more about on the website that tell you a little more about Mom. One, the one with Mom and Dad, is called 1 and 1, talking about how the 2 of them, 1 plus 1, and in this case the mathematician in my father would certainly say that should be 2, but I say it's a lot larger than 2 when you put 2 great folks like our parents together. They created and have created a world that is so much bigger and better because of the efforts that they've provided. And then the second song is called Mom is One Fine Guide, which touches on some of the things I've mentioned in this snippet and in many other ways, how she has made a difference in our lives and been a wonderful guide. Well, that's about 10 minutes, probably enough for this snippet, but perhaps more to follow. Take care.